Hello, everyone. Hello to myself, because I'm talking to myself and no one is here, to see me except probably a mannequin. You probably might say, what's a mannequin? Just a hair mannequin, basically. So today, got inspiration from my mom's, who I love. Because I was going to do this in my car, but I said I wasn't going out today. I meant it. Because, as a woman, we start things. So, if you know. Anyways, so today, got inspiration because I really haven't been on here face to face since graduation happened. Which, last time I did that, I did pre-recorded some of it, me the day of graduation, and then after a week since the graduation finished. And that probably talked about my health and stuff. But today, I'm going to talk to you guys about what college did not tell me and things I wish, they would tell me. I hope that maybe my class will talk about it more. I don't know. That's something. But I'm going to tell you guys, for me personally, wish they talked about it more. For one, it's been 4 months since I graduated. 4, May, June, July, August. Well, it's about to be 5 because September is around the corner. And you know what that means. Do you remember? Still the #1 song, though. And it only has that month. I only know that song as a month of a song, that has went gold or platinum from Earth, Wind & Fire. Anyways, I'm getting off topic, which I kind of scatterbrain, but hopefully I'm going to stay on course. And if I don't, I apologize. I'm trying to work on that. But it's been 4 months since I graduated. I've taken probably numerous interviews. And thank the Lord, I finally have a job. Thank you, Jesus. Finally have a job. Interviewed June. Got confirmation July. Started August. Well, getting the process finished by August, which is a process, So yeah, I'm excited. Yesterday, my Milkshake Monday was on, and I've had the questions of tomorrow. And I realized during that teaching that, I say Lord willing, of course, but I choose not to worry. I choose not to stress myself out before it even starts. I know certain family members are telling me, you should do this, it's good. If I do that, I'll stress myself out. I really am trying to just take it day in and day out, best as I can. So, got the job. Starting just to do that. This job requires certain things that are getting me out of my comfort zone, which is great. But I didn't come for that. Well, I did. But talk about my years of what things college would have said. But anyways, let me start. So 4 months out, to be honest with you, I'm happy for one that I don't have to go through the whole moving day, moving my stuff, going to college, driving hours to college and whatsoever. That's really a big ups that I'm really excited for. But it's also a change. It's so key. I'm thinking in August, I'm like, oh, they're moving in sometime, the end or beginning of the year. Praying for you RAs. And I realized to myself, since 4 months of me and 4 years of me going to college, and now 4 months of me being out of college, things that I wish the college would have told me. A couple things, probably I'm minimal. For one, I don't know about everybody else, but I really would try to get acquainted with your insurance. And when I say insurance, let me break it down. And I'll give you a scenario. Your parents might have health insurance. You go to the doctors to get your checkups, possibly get your flu shots and whatsoever. Good for you, You should check up on when that finishes, when that ends, that you'll get your graduation, congratulations stuff, but you'll also get a congratulations from the insurance people because they know they have a new member coming in that has to pay their own health insurance. You know, I'm gonna give you a scenario because this is actually true. Probably like the week of me graduating, I had to switch health insurance because, I was graduating and I was at the age that you have to switch too. Because I'm 21. So at that point, I had to be on the phone with my mother and figure out health insurance that is compatible for me. Now this time, I'm saving money. I'm working 3 jobs. I'm like trying to pile up money because I know that somehow, some way, I'm gonna have to pay something because they'll congratulate you, but you know that they're congratulating you to enter into this whole new chapter of paying your own bills, which I've been doing with my phone, etc. But this time, I'm with the health insurance. They're giving me plans on plans on plans. I don't know about y'all, but the ones I had to do, they're more than $100. I'm gonna just be realistic. They're more than $200 possibly too. So I got into a plan that month. Every month I have to pay a certain plan. Thank you, Lord, I found a job. But I have, for the last 4 months, been paying a health insurance because I'll get to that later of why. But that's something that I wish I did. When I was on the phone with the lady, she was like, "Oh, you're graduating?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm graduating with the business administration." She's like, "Oh, congratulations," And I was like, "Thank you. You're probably congratulating me because that payment went through too. Because, that's just another confirmed payment that we have every month, which you're excited for." Woo, excitement. Health insurance, they don't really talk about in college. That's something you need to know. You might be calling your parents and stuff, but you really need to be starting to figure out yourself. Figuring out your policy, figuring out, what medication is getting paid from your health insurance. So that's really key too. And another thing that's key is, this might not always happen to people, but if you do have a health insurance, you have to make sure that, does this health insurance cover it if you want the same doctor you've been having for since you were a baby or whatever you did. You need to make sure that that's compatible. That's why I think you need to talk to your parents now, talk about your health insurance, and talk about, when does it end, Mom? Do I have it after I graduated? How many years do I have until I get my own? Stuff like that is very key to think about. They don't talk about it, but it's very key. Health insurance. Because then, the future will come your dental insurance. Then your vision. And, all this extra stuff that has to come in. And you really have to think about that stuff. And, they might talk to you about, a white man who died that we learned about for, since high school. But they're not talking about the thing key that are like health insurance. They think your parents should be talking about that in college. But how is that possible if I'm spending majority of my time in classes, in libraries, in cafeterias eating so I won't starve to death? And sleeping. I don't know. And you want to have possibly, I don't know, a life. I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking gibberish. I don't know. But that's something I want you guys to really know. Health insurance is very key. Something that really, I wish they really talked about more in college, or had just a class called, 101 on life unexpected, something that really would have been key, or, something that's really just needed in life. So, health insurance is really key. Start to get to know of what will happen when I graduate, or this age limit, what do I need to do, yada, yada, yada. Another thing is that I wish that I would have talked more about is grace period. Grace period. Now you might be thinking grace period loans. No. Even though you might have to go through that too. And I'll be realistic, y'all. I graduated in April. They told me that my grace period ends in October, November. And a key thing before I go to the grace period, but I'll talk about loan grace period. With long grace periods, I think it's best to talk to your loan provider and say, I don't have a job, or I have a job, but it's under this income. You have to work. You need to work with me because I don't know how, this can work out if this is my income, so and so. So that's something that is a work in progress that you definitely need to talk to. This is really going to be talking to. I'm an introvert. And in my college experience, I really was like, but when you graduate, you need to start, you gotta talk. That's something that's really key. You gotta talk. So talking to your loan officers, your people who are holding your loans is really key to talk to, because I know you want your loans paid off and stuff like that, but they keep giving notifications for me, I know, saying, hey, your loans are about to, your grace period has like 2 more months. And I'm like, okay, but I already talked to my loan officer and we're trying to figure out stuff now, which is key. But back to grace period that are not loans. Grace period is basically for yourself. When I say self, I mean for yourself. Not for anybody else, not your mama, not your daddy, not your uncle, not your sister, not your baby dad, none of that. Yourself. Okay? I know it might be hard, but you got to think about yourself at this point. I'm sorry. When I say grace period, I told myself freshman year and my parents that I wanted to go to Vegas. That's great and that's bad at the same time. What I wish I would have told my parents when freshman year is, when I graduate, I want at least 4 to 5 months of grace. That means I don't want to be pushed on like, hey, where's your job? Know that I am looking for a job. Know that I do want a job. But I think sometimes when you're around family or around friends who have jobs and who kind of push that word of like, where's your job at? Or, you still don't have a job. It kind of puts pressure on you. And some pressure is good pressure, they say. But to me, pressure is pressure. I pressure myself already and put stress on myself already. So I really don't need that added on. And other people might be different. Some people might feel like that's motivation or what so. For me, that's not. So giving yourself grace period is really good. I know that colleges always say, we want you to have a path, a job, and some such. But the institution I went to really didn't prepare us for that. We did it ourselves. They talk about it all the time, but they really don't prepare yourself for when you don't have a job coming out of college. They don't. And when you don't have a job coming out of college, they don't talk to you. The career development people don't talk to you unless you have a success story to tell them. And when I say success story, I really don't like this word success, but a thing that they can come back to their freshman students or the people that they're trying to get and say, hey, this alumni went here and so and so. That's the thing I'm talking about. And the thing I wish that some institution would be is real. You guys are like car dealerships, I always tell, because you egg people on to say, hey, this is our, amazing institution where we have no issues at all. Lies right there. My family members always laugh, but it's really true. I saw one food item when I went there for, as a prospect. Didn't see that through the 4 years until other prospects came in. So that just tells you the realness of it, of how institutions can be. I think it's funny now that I laugh at it, but at the point of me going to college, I was a little upset, but I was like, I expected, you have to think too. I'm a business administration student when I graduated, and I knew coming into college that college is a business. Regardless of how you see it, college is a higher education system, whatever. It's a business. They need money coming in just like they have money coming out for the scholarships. So it has to work one way or the other. So going back to what I said, grace period is really key. Something I wish that was being told to me was a grace. I graduated April 29th. That next month or the week after, I went to Vegas to just relax. I've been having this planned out. And then after that, coming back, I was like, okay. I was applying to jobs since junior year, senior year I was taking externships. Those didn't work out and feel for me at that point. So I was still applying for jobs even when I was in Vegas, because I was freaking out of like, okay, I need a job. Putting pressure on myself before other people did. Still no response from people. Did some interviews and so, but again, you get that email saying we regret to inform you that, we went with the other candidate. And even in those, I know grace period's gonna be long, but even in those, when you get those, I used to always hear rejection, and my mom got on me. She's like, just wasn't meant for you. It wasn't. God had He has another opportunity for you. And I think that was my mom, and that was also the Lord, because my mom saying that to me, but also like the Lord working on me, because I think I wanted so much of like just saying, hey, I have a job now. You can leave me alone. You can stop asking me if I have a job or so and so. I have a job, but was that job really suiting for my purpose? I pray about me being used, the Lord leading me to what He wants for me as my purpose. So me just applying to those jobs, I felt like, I was doing it just to get it off my back of people, but that wasn't lining up with what my prayer was. So how can that work, Faith? So that was something I learned about myself, really, and giving myself grace period during that time. I think God was really saying you need to really just lay back and rest. And people have switch ups. They do. And they'll be like, okay, we'll give you, your family could, that's why I'm going to say this before, but your family could be like, we agreed on the grace period. We agreed on, 4 months or so and so or whatever. And then they'll come back at you and say, you need to find a job type of energy. And sometimes, that's why you just have to realize what you are doing is for the best of you and your mental, because sometimes it can really get on you if you hear from other people. I'm like, you need to get a job, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it really puts a strain on your brain and stresses you out. I know for me personally, since graduating, I neglected my health for my 4 years, and I recognize that now. I know a lot of my classmates, I think we majority neglected our health. Some of us maybe not, which I'm blessed. I'm glad you guys didn't. I know I did, and I know I'm paying for it now. Literally, I'm paying for it now. I didn't know the things I was having at the time of college, like panic attacks, anxiety, and that was usually the heart racing, the ear, hearing the heartbeat, tremors and stuff. Those are the things I was experiencing in college that I really didn't pay mind to. Mistake, which is a huge mistake that I recognize, but now I'm facing it in after graduating, what I'm still going through. And I think part of my grace period has really helped me recognize that and focus on that, because during my grace period, I've been really going through medical things. So, and they've been telling me the same thing, like, you need to just give yourself grace. You need to give yourself, stop, not stressing. And that's so easy to say, stop stressing, but it takes work. Just like any other thing, takes work. So I'm trying to figure that out myself right now. So it's really key to focus on that when your grace period. So that's really key. And you could just, maybe if you want to take it serious, if I really hope you would, but you can take it in a serious note of like, sit your parents down at the table, or talk to your parents and say, Mom and Dad, I really need to talk to you something. And they might be freaking out and be like, what does she have to say to me? Is she pregnant? If you are, congratulations. But I think something that's really key is just sitting your parents down, talking to you, and you talking to them and say, I'm about to start college, and I wanted to establish this pact with you and I, establishing a grace period for me when I graduate. I know these 4 years are not going to be like high school. I know these 4 years are going to be different and a new chapter. But I would like to establish if we could both be respectful with one another and letting me establishing a grace period once I graduate. And that can be 4 months, that can be 5 months, that can be whatsoever you choose. I know some of my friends, they did where, they established a grace. it's like high school when they say, oh, I'm gonna take a gap year before college. A grace period, one of my friends was like, I'm gonna take a gap year before they go back to do another schooling. But they had a plan, and their plan was, I'm gonna take a part-time job, but I'm gonna just, relax and just, not put so much pressure on myself. Because that's exactly what high school and entering into college kind of does for you. They say it's not. They say they're here to, welcome you and all this stuff. But when classes start, boy, it gets real. So starting a grace period, establishing a grace period with your family members, your parents especially, or with yourself, even if your parents don't agree, establish that with yourself. Because at the end of the day, you are going to you're going to do it yourself regardless of establishing it. But as long as you know what you want to do and establish a grace period and say, I'm going to establish a grace period for 4 months. I might work a part-time job. I might not. I might work in college, prepare myself for those grace periods and for what's to come, so I can have this type of, legway. But, I think establishing that, making a plan for yourself, sitting down with your parents, sitting down with yourself and establishing that, and also make plan A, B's, and C's, because it might not go all the way like A does, but it might do what B does, and even B might have its tweaks. But you have to realize that in your plans, it's going to have tweaks, it's going to have unexpected things happen. Just be prepared for that. If you're not prepared, it's a lesson learned. It's a learning lesson for you, and no one's perfect. So a grace loan versus a grace period for yourself is very key. Denominators, numerators, whatever you want to call it, for yourself, that's really key. Something that I wish the college would explain to me. So, another thing that I wish that college would say, but I know they'll never say in their life, and if they did, I would love to hear it from their voices. Resumes, there's no resume that's perfect. I'm gonna repeat, there is no resume that is perfect. I don't care how many people have said there is. I doubt it. I don't believe it. I'm not gonna lie. I, in my college years, went to 3 career developments and professors and to family members who at least had work experience. And each of them had a critique of their own. And what's so crazy about it is they had they could have master's degrees, they could have, all these PhDs and whatsoever, but all of them had critiques of themselves. And to me, I just felt like that's exactly how HR is. HR could have a critique. They might say, this is not what I'm looking for. But it could be, they say, a person from behind the scenes be like, this is perfect and whatsoever. So there's no resume that's perfect. You just have to believe in yourself that what this resume is speaking of what you are, of what you have done through your years, basically. Because what's so key is when I was a senior year, a professor gave me alumni's numbers to ask them questions because they were in the field that I was about to go to. And what's so key is when talking to those alumni, they were like, we don't care about your education, so say. We care about your experience. We care about you doing certification. And it kind of just hurted my soul. It hurted my soul because I was like, so you're telling me that y'all don't really look at the bachelor's education. Y'all don't look at the bachelor's, not education, but bachelor's, for the education part. No, we look at the certification, your experience. What have you done so far except out of classrooms that has shown? That's why I say you can't win when it comes to the E's and E's. Sorry, I was putting my leg down. It's education experience. So, when hearing that, I was like, are you serious? And she was dead set serious. Versus when I went to this externship of mine, I really got down because one of the HR ladies was like, we don't look at your experience so much. We look at your education. As long as you have a 3.0, it doesn't matter. If you don't have a 3.0, we don't look at you. Which really just said to me what different businesses look at, which is so sad because, everyone's different, of course, but you do this education part for 4 years and you just hear from 2 different sides. But I mostly heard from a lot of alumni say we don't look at your education. which is sad. It's like, what's the point? And the certification that they told me about, they said, you know, you need that more than you need your education, which was pretty sad to hear that too, because like you did 4 years of education just to have none of that be established in the college institution. So, you know, resumes aren't perfect, you know, they just aren't. I know for me, going into interviews, they would be like, oh my gosh, you did a lot, like wow. And then others will be like, oh my gosh, you know, the different tone of voices when you give them their resume is very much different. So don't be hard on yourself on resumes, because I know for sure I definitely had people around me who are very hard on themselves with resumes, and I know that they are so excellent in whatever craft they're about to do, because I've seen it. And I just know, I know, you know, they're amazing in whatever they're gonna do, period. So that's something I wish college would have told me. There's no resume that's perfect. And you know, I think they missed the whole realistic look in college. I know for my institution they did, because it finally took them to have a club to establish things that I just needed to call them out, because there's a difference between classrooms and clubs. Classrooms, they kind of like you have the professor who is established as a professor, and you raising your hand kind of challenging the professor sometimes, depending on the professor, can be a little icky. Whereas a club meeting, you know, I'll challenge it to just because it's more of a club collectively. So I was in a club meeting one time, and a club professor, kind of sidetracking from resume, but professor was giving us, you know, separation of like, you know, how much it would cost for if you had this salary and you had to pay this. And I had to stop him right there, because I was thinking of location. I was thinking of the pricing of now of is passing COVID. And let's be realistic here, everything since COVID has kind of risen. And, you know, that's just what it is. But he wasn't being realistic, and I don't want any of, if I had, you know, I don't want my friends, foes to see that and be like, you know, I looked at that club and I tried to do it, you know, and I still have a negative in my bank account, or, you know, I didn't, you know, it didn't work out for me. It didn't work out because it wasn't giving the realistic amount and a realistic market value. Key thing. So, you know, he was saying, oh, you know, pay rent for, you know, $1,200 or $1,000. I was like, I know for me, I don't see that, buddy. I don't see that, buddy, for apartment that's in where I live. I don't see that realistically. So when I pointed out the number needs to be higher, he's like, oh, really? I was like, yeah, it needs to be higher. It needs to be way higher. And the second number, he was like, this? I was like, even higher. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, that's the right number. You know, it's sad to say that, but it's not $1,200 where I live. It's about $2,500 possibly, which is sad. But, you know, again, everything's rising. And plus just the location wise. So being real with that, being realistic is something that you have to start doing. About yourself, calling it out, you know. I know it's hard, we say call it out, but, you know, it might pull them to the side and be like, you know, you were speaking this, but you really need to raise it higher because I live here, or I know this type of market and I know it's not this type of price. It's like me, for instance, I'm going into the candle business, right? I see candles at Yankee Candles for $8, $10. Why would I start selling it for $1 for mine? And I know that the product itself costs more than $1. It's like you have to put yourself in that business aspect of like, you know, if this candle, if it takes me, if I'm not making the candle, if it takes me to buy this candle $2, why would I sell it for $1? I'm losing $1 value. So being realistic in those type of scenes, you have to say so, you know. Because I was in the club, and we were talking about housing. We were talking about rent, we were talking about insurance, we were talking about car insurance, we were talking about car payments. Things like that have to be dissected and real, because they don't talk about it. Even the places where I live currently, different states are different, okay? All states are some different things. In Virginia, we have personal property tax. If you for say you're a college student and you live in Maryland, and you say, oh, but when I graduate, I'm living in Virginia, you need to start looking up to, what is the difference between Virginia and Maryland. Maryland doesn't really have that whole personal property tax that I've heard of, whereas Virginia has those personal property tax. And especially if you have a new car, start thinking about how much that will be. Comes out in August, I have to pay it by October. Stuff like that, I think, need to be real and need to be talked about more than ever in colleges. I think really college needs to just open up and start saying a life 101, or financially handling your life after college type of class, because I know for me, I didn't have that. I had the closest thing that talked about things I didn't really know about, like federal tax. That was the closest thing. The other classes, not so much. I learned about certain things in federal tax, and what's so sad about it too is like I didn't do the second part because I had to do other classes for my other major, so that didn't work out in my interest. But that is something that should be required instead of doing these other classes, like if I majored in business and I took science in high school, why do you think I didn't major in science for a reason? I'm bad at science. I don't want to take science. So why should I, stuff like that. Requirements are very something you can't change unless someone wants to fork it out and say, I want to be the leader in stopping these ridiculous requirements, and let's replace those requirements with something that's actually needed for life. Someone wants to be that, I'll sign, but that's something that you just have to go through, I guess, until someone makes that change. But that's something I think, giving yourself grace, resume, knowing your health insurance, those have been the 4 months, really 5 months that I've recognized of what needs, what has happened since college. It's a lot, but it's a blessing to be alive. But it's definitely a knock on your head, honestly. We're not, the thing of too is like, we're not kids, we're adults. When you go into college, like, they're gonna treat you like an adult, or they might treat you like a kid, but I think too, those dorms, they're teaching you part of life, of being by yourself, having your own office possibly, but also learning your own schedule and planning accordingly. Something that I think people might take advantage of. Some people might, not take advantage of. So, college, they say, it's the best years of your life. I try not to fight those words, but honestly, I just can't agree because everyone's story is different. So, cheers to that person who said it. Wish you the best, but not for me. But those are the 3 things I think for the 4 years, though, for real, that I've kind of woke me up to like once I graduated. So health insurance, grace period, both in loan and personal for yourself. And then resumes aren't perfect. And then just be realistic, really. Everywhere you're around, everything that is around you, One thing I really can't stand is when people say, in the real world, girl, what am I living in now? Like, I thought I was in the real world. Like, I'm not in the show, the real world, but, this is the real world. I'm in your class. I'm breathing. Thank you, Lord. I'm moving my hands. So when people say that, I just think it's just crazy. Are you talking about like outside? I feel like if anything, you should be like outside, not even outside, just like when you get into the realistic of making your payments or something, But I just can't do that. But yeah, I'm alive. I'm thankful. I just wanted to do this. I really appreciate my mom, like, getting telling me this, because I really haven't done one. I've been doing like all this other stuff for my business, and just getting myself together for career and just around the house. So yeah, and behind here is my studio. Not behind it literally, but around me is my studio. And I think people always have this question of like, how do you do all this? How do you do this? It started with a phone, and it started with these hands that God has blessed me. Thank you, Lord. But also the mind. But it really started with the Lord just put it in my heart. Use a phone. I don't need to have a $15,000 camera. Just start with your phone, honestly. It doesn't take a lot. Just record yourself. And it might be, interesting. I started it years ago. But now I'm here, graduated, figuring out life, and just really trying to get myself together when it comes to my mental, spiritual, emotional realm. So, but I'm loved, and you're loved. Oh, wow, that was cracked. But yeah, but I'm gonna leave you to it. I'm gonna go. Got some other stuff to do. No. But we shall see. But this is the things I wish that college would have told me. But I wish you nothing but the best if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, master's, PhD, whatever you are doing in your life. I wish you the best, and I hope that you know that you're still loved regardless of a degree. If not, it doesn't really matter. You're still loved. If no one has told you that, I'm telling you that because you're loved. So just recognize that no matter what you go, no matter what path you are, that someone here is rooting for you, honestly. So I'm going to see ya. I'm going to go. I'm going to get out of this chair and probably get some more water and then work on some stuff and hang out with my dog. So peace to the multitude. Peace to the multitude. No, let's stop that. All right. Bye.